Welcome to Markets Now. I'm Michelle Rook with Jim McCormick with agmarket.net. Grains trading a bit higher here after the quarterly stocks and small grains summary reports out this morning at 11 o'clock. All right, Jim, let's start off talking about corn because we had quarterly stocks come in at 1.76 billion bushels. Kind of friendly. That was a little below expectations, wasn't it?
It was a little bit below expectations, definitely a little bit friendly. The market's responding to it, making new highs for the near-term move. We have seen a little bit of hedge pressure come in, I think, as we got near this 425 level, Michelle. But yeah, I mean, what it probably suggests is we definitely fed a lot. You know, the disappearance in the fourth quarter was strong. We needed it to be strong to get a good number today, and we got it. The other wild card was maybe would they find some extra bushels from last year's crop? That kind of surprised us. At this point, we did not get it. So I guess you could argue the government had a pretty good handle on the ending stock numbers at the moment.
Yeah, in fact, the production was actually revised down just slightly, right, on corn?
Yeah, just a very slight revision. So I got to say, I mean, I was a little bit surprised by that. I thought there could be a little bit of surprise out there. There has been so much corn moving from the farmer to the elevator the last 60 days. I thought there was a chance that maybe the numbers were off a little bit. But, you know, right now, like, got to give the government credit. At least they're saying they're very accurate. And it was, like you said, it was a little bit friendly, and the market's responding positively to it. But farmers look like they are selling into it based on what we're hearing from our commercial contacts.
Right. If we could get it closed today above 425, 426, Jim, what would that open us up to technically?
I think you can another nickel 10 cents up. You're just going to continue to run into resistance, Michelle, because the one thing we do know about this crop and about the farmer, unfortunately, he's very undersold in the marketplace. I mean, there was estimates coming in the fall, less than 10% of this crop was sold. So we are going to run into a lot of hedge pressure. The weather looks phenomenal for harvesting for the most part, 7 to 10 days of open weather. So I think, you know, it's going to be a battle now at the moment between will the end users chase this market higher on a slightly friendly number, or more importantly, is it going to force the funds out of the rest of the short position? And then if they do, how much farmer selling's above it to cap it?
Yeah, no doubt. We'll talk about fund positions here in just a moment. As far as soybeans, quarterly stocks there came in at 342 million bushels. So pretty much in line with estimates and with the September WASDE, right?
Right. Pretty much no shock there. I mean, the bean market's not having much of an impact on the move at this point. I think in general, Michelle, the real question after this dollar plus move rally in the beans is where does the market go from here? The funds are carrying this massive short position. They got out of a huge chunk of that last week. Now we're looking at what the weather in South America is going to do. We are starting to see some of the weather models start pointing to better chances of rain for parts of Argentina as well as Brazil at the end of the week, into the beginning of next week. I had one weather commentator make the comment, the end of the dry season is upon us. And, you know, I got to believe if we do start seeing rain develop into South America over the next couple of weeks, it will put a pretty much a wet blanket on this bull market run. Because I think, you know, the reality is if we have a normal crop out of Brazil, unfortunately, the world will be awash in beans despite what the U.S. crop is.
Yeah, no doubt. If we don't see those rains materialize, could you get above the 100-day moving average finally here? Is that what it's going to take, Jim?
I think that's what it will take. I think the 100-day will cap us pretty hard right there. I think a lot of producers will sell into that. Technically, we've had a pretty good move. But yes, if they keep missing the rains, the market is going to get a little bit unnerved by it. At this point, the other wild card is going to be China. China dumped a lot of economic stimulus into their system. I mean, there's two ways to look at it. Hey, this is really going to get their economy going, or holy cow, how bad was their economy that they threw everything but the kitchen sink at it? I do believe a lot of this stimulus, though, is in a rate of lower rates of interest rates on borrowing money, lower requirements to hold the banks to hold money. So it is going to take time for these rate cuts and these stimulus to move into the system. But it's something we need to keep an eye on, because if this does not work, Michelle, and China continues to struggle on the economic side of the equation, that's not good for anybody.
No, it is not. Let's move to wheat. Quarterly stocks there, 1.99 billion bushels, so slightly above expectations. The wheat crop production came in pretty close to estimates. Give us a little summary.
Yeah, right now, exactly. The wheat crop came in very close to what they're looking for. I think right now, Michelle, the focus is going to be on weather at this point in time. First one, the question is going to be, are you going to see, the plains? Are they going to continue to get some rain? And then on top of it, you're going to see what's going on in Europe. Wheat's finding a little bit of support today on the fact that Europe's talking about less wheat crop being produced due to dryness issues there. Argentina's dealing with dryness. Russia's dealing with dryness. That's going to be the driver. If Europe continues to have problems with their wheat, that hopefully will push demand to the United States and support our wheat prices.
Yeah, do you think we have much, if any, global weather premium in the wheat market right now?
I think we have a little bit at this point in time, Michelle, but I think there will be more there, as we get into, because remember, we're just in the beginning of trying to get this winter wheat crop planted. So there's time for the weather patterns to change and maybe help this crop along. But if the weather patterns do not change and Europe continues to be dry, you're going to get more and more people worried about the wheat supply in the world. Not to mention, there's just a lot of conflict going on. I mean, if you look what's going on in the Middle East, unfortunately, it looks like it's getting worse, not better. The conflict in Russia and Ukraine, I think, is going to could get a little bit worse. If all of a sudden you can't get product, be it wheat or corn, out of the Ukraine, it could be a game changer for the world buyers as well.
So we've had a pretty good rally off the lows in corn, soybeans, and wheat. A lot of it has been fund short covering here. We're into the end of the quarter. Do they keep covering shorts, Jim?
That's the $1 million question right now, Michelle. I mean, like I said, a lot of us was into the month short covering. Will they flip? I mean, seasonals are saying, hey, now's the time to buy. We're looking for those seasonal lows. But on the other hand, we have a big crop that has not, in general been priced. That's going to be a little bit negative. Our economic situation looks pretty good, but the fact is we do have a huge surplus of grain at the moment. And like I said earlier, if Brazil starts to get these weather rain like they're forecasting, it's awful hard to argue beans need to go any higher. And then the question is, why would the funds want to flip and go long? Or do they just do what they've done sometimes? They build a big short, they reduce that short, and then they put it right back on again. So it's something we just need to watch over the next couple of weeks.
And how much do farmers need to be pricing here at this point then?
I think you got to reward it, especially if you are a producer that cannot store this grain. I mean, if you can store it on farm with the uncertainty of what's going on in the world, the crop, a lot of people are expecting maybe the crop to tail off as we get in the latter part of our harvest. You might want to put it on, keep it on farm. But if you cannot store it on farm, I think you got to look at rewarding this rally. We've had one heck of a rally. And like I said, I do not think it's sustainable if the weather patterns in South America change, because right now the projected world stocks will be at all-time highs. Stocks use at second highest ever. That's just not, $11 beans in my opinion. It's closer to 10, if not lower, when it's all said and done.
Gotcha. And just one last question. We mentioned end of month, end of quarter here. And so grains, just like the meats, are probably not setting necessarily a trend here today per se. But are you concerned in the meat about anything in particular, like the port strike? Is that something the meats need to be worried about?
Well, we need to keep an eye on the meats. I mean, demand is always the key. We know the supply has been relatively tight. We've been offsetting that supply, at least on the cattle, by feeding them heavier, and that's kind of cushioned the tight supply. But it all comes down to demand. If you can't get this meat out to the world, it will back it up. That is always negative. Then on top of it, we do have a big jobs number here, Michelle, at the end of the week. That is going to set the tone possibly for the latter part of the fall into the winter as to what the government may do on cutting interest rates. And that'll have an impact on the psychological aspect of the American consumer. Not to mention, we do have a presidential election that's still up in the air. So a lot of volatility. If I'm a cattle producer out there, I continue to use puts as a way to lay off risk, because there still is a lot out there, I believe.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts in both grains and livestock. Thanks so much, Jim McCormick with agmarket.net. That is Markets Now.